Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky and stars, 10,000 suns.
Namaste. Hi everybody, it's the Shaman and the Mermaid again. I know you missed us, we're back. And we're giving you your astrological forecast for November 19th all the way through December 18th. And this is eclipse season. There'll be 2 eclipses covered in this report. And in short, it is WTF for our theme. ... Katrina will explain what WTF means in our language here. But let me give you the quick overview. And just as a preview, yes, the full moon and the official almost total lunar eclipse will be on Friday, November 19th. But if you want to view it, and if you're in Denver, you can, and most of the United States, you go outside on Thursday, November 18th, the night before, because the eclipse starts at about 11 p.m. on Thursday, the 18th, and then the height of it comes at 2 a.m. early morning, November 19th on Friday. So if you want to see the eclipse, Thursday night, stay up late. Really late. And then we'll be moving through to a total solar eclipse on December 4th with the new moon, and we'll take you all the way through the Gemini full moon. But in between, WTF.
We're laughing because we're like in 8th grade that we got to use a swear word almost, but not really. It's alluding to the common phrase of what the you-know-what, but we're putting in, and we're using that, like superlative, because it's eclipse season, 2 of them in this report, and that's a big deal. It's a lot of energy being cut and clipped and carried out and into the portal and shoved off and let go and release and surrender. And if that's not what you're doing with it, then it's coming the other way, and it's like throwing, like the shizzle hits the fan and it's coming back at you, and you're like, oh my gosh, WTF, right? But in our particular description of it, our language isn't as rough as the traditional verbiage of WTF. Instead, we've chosen to use wisdom, truth, and faith is the main thing to hold on to during this next month cycle from November 19th to December 18th. In fact, always, right? We always want to hang on to those 3 big words of wisdom, truth, and faith. But we've chosen those particular words because there's a lot of Sagittarius energy in this report. The sun is going to move into Sagittarius, and on the day after the full moon, the day after the eclipse, sun will move into Sagittarius. And then right after that, Mercury will move into Sagittarius. And then shortly down the road, Mars will move into Sagittarius. So there's a lot of Sagittarius energy. And if you're familiar with your zodiac signs, Sag are the truth seekers, they're the vision questers. That's where Jupiter is home. And Jupiter is the big faith, the big guru, the big teacher. He's home in Sagittarius. Not at this particular time, but they share common energy. So if you know about Jupiter, then you know about Sagittarius. And so this is a time for all those things, putting ourselves into the telescope and looking out to the stars. Literally, this would be a great time to do it, especially on that almost total lunar eclipse on November 19th, when the moon will be pretty much blood red. That would be a great time to look through your telescope. But metaphorically too, like looking out to the beyond, getting the big 30,000 foot view perspective, and taking that vision quest and really trying to see beyond this limited scope of our seeming existence and seeing what's really out there in the big world, and letting ourselves have a leap of faith into the unknown. These are all Sagittarian qualities. And then of course they have that deep wisdom. They're the wisdom keepers as well. They're seeking truth. They want to know the absolute truth on things, and that goes against anything that isn't truth, goes against that deeper wisdom layer inside themselves. So This is a time for all that bigger truth to rise to the surface in this next month's cycle as well. So as I mentioned, Sun moves into Sagittarius November 20th, but before we get going on all the things that happen in this month, let's back up to that actual Taurus full moon and lunar eclipse on November 19th. There's a few other things going on, particularly kind of a potent square, and Michael, you want to talk about that one?
Yes, so this is a Taurus full moon, and Taurus energy in general, when it's positive, has to do with self-respect, self-love, valuing yourself, you're worthy, unconditional love. It also has to do with simplicity, and those are all internal things. Externally, Taurus has to do with your body, has to do with how you relate to food and Mother Nature and your senses and home itself or real estate or things like that. And so this is a very feeling at home, comfortable full moon when it's positive. However, this is an eclipse. An eclipse literally means to cut. And so this full moon happening on the Taurus North Node is where you want to go in the future. We want to call in positive, harmonious things around our inner self values and our outer self values. And so anything that may be obstructing that, either in our mind, our emotions, our body, our culture, our society, we want to cut. Clip it. It's done. It's dead. Let's get rid of this. It's not helping us evolve. And we're looking positively towards moving forward and saying our bodies are sovereign, we're worthy, we're unique, we're creative, keep life simple, be in communion with Taurus energy. What makes this eclipses are always very interesting anyway. Literally, they bring in different energies from the solar system. When the sun, the moon, and the earth align up, it changes the way that the solar winds move around planet Earth and the moon. And so interstellar, meaning other star energies, other solar system energies can move into our being here on planet Earth. And the ancients have always said eclipses bring in weird energy. Well, NASA says eclipses bring in weird energy. Same, but different. And this is accentuated. What Katrina was getting at is right now Mercury is traveling with the sun. And on this eclipse, here's the sun and Mercury together, here's the moon, and in between is Jupiter squaring both. And so Jupiter squaring both, Jupiter has everything to do with, well, what Katrina talked about, Sagittarius energy, wisdom, truth, and faith. And so this eclipse may bring up or demand changes or bring things to a headway in a dynamic way around what you think you know, what you have truth in or what you've been led into mistruth around, and what you're believing in that may be fanatical, convincing, condemning, converting of people, which is not high vibration Sagittarius energy.
I want to note that throughout the report, you're going to hear a lot about Mercury. Mercury, of course, is the closest planet to the sun, and therefore has the quickest revolution around. So it's doing a lot of work anyway. It's busy, it's fast, it's moving. So it seems to reason that we would hear about it a lot, but it has some key moments in this report, and Mercury is all about communication, all about your words, all about how you express. It's also has to do with technology and transportation, but I think in this particular report, it's a lot about how you are communicating and to be wise with your words. And sometimes, that old saying of if it's unkind, untrue, or unnecessary, leave it unsaid, because this eclipse season has a lot of cut to it. So our words could be very cutting. And whenever our words are cutting, usually we're going to be hurting people, and we leave a wake behind us of, disruption and chaos with our hurtful words. So just be aware of that. And it particularly on that very first day out of this report, that November 19th full moon and eclipse, the sun and Mercury are conjunct, squaring Jupiter. That means your outward expression of yourself, the sun, how you show up in the world, and how you communicate yourself is squaring faith, wisdom, and that kind of expansive truth. So just be aware that I don't know if we always need to go up against what we think we know as our little ego self against what is really truth. So particularly in the beginning of this report, kind of keep yourself in check. It's not to say shut up and be quiet and don't speak your truth, but sometimes our ego gets the best of us. And when we're really in our higher self, when we're in our Shiva consciousness or our Jupiter consciousness, sometimes we have the wisdom to keep our mouth shut because it's the best thing to do. The little self is talking too much. Just as a FYI, not to be confused with WTF.
Which could be watch the French.
Watch the French, right? Okay.
That's from Mercury.
So then...
One little side note on the eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
That day, Mars and Uranus, or Uranus, are coming together in conjunction. Opposition, I'm sorry. They're in opposition to each other that day. Mars in Scorpio, Uranus in Taurus. And so those two are wild cards.
Yeah.
They like to stir things up. Mars is the warrior and Uranus is the revolutionary. We'll just leave it at that.
On the same day, but we said watch your mouth. So like that warrior energy might get a little fired up with Uranus on the opposite side. So full moon energy, you know, Michael alluded that Taurus is the home and nesting and, you know, bringing in all the beauty into your home front. That's a beautiful thing to do on this full moon. I mean, it's starting to change, the weather is starting to turn. It's a good time to go in and get your fall decor, get your Thanksgiving table figured out, however you're going to do that, as opposed to going out and taking on the neighbors and complaining about their leaves in your yard or whatever, because that could just get contentious. And I also want to point out that the Taurus energy, I like to point out that it's a very sensual sign. It's very into the five senses. So taste, touch, smell, sound, sight, all those things. That is a big key time at the full moon. So while you're nesting in your house, you know, making it all beautiful or something to that effect so that you stay out of trouble, maybe do some real sensual activities, like make a beautiful dinner, let the house waft with beautiful aromas and light candles and, you know, fluff up the pillows and smoochy on your loved one, and let it be a sensual full moon because it's prime for that as well.
Sounds good to me. Those following days after that eclipse and full moon is all about the Sun and Mercury. On November 20th, the Sun changes astrological months, goes into Sagittarius.
Happy birthday, Sagittarius!
Yay! 4 days later, November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving, Mercury goes into Sagittarius. And then on November 28th, officially, Mercury and Saturn are exactly conjunct. Sun and Mercury are exactly conjunct. But that whole time, they're basically traveling together. And so this is the time where Mercury being the mind, the thoughts, the analyzing, Mercury is communication, speaking, transmitting. The Sun is your personal self, your persona, your ego. Just keep these things in alignment with wisdom, truth, and faith.
You don't want anyone saying WTF on the one way. You want them saying WTF with our theme of, wow, they were wisdom, truth, and faith. It was so nice to be around them.
Because those will always stand the test of time. The watch the French will come back karmically.
And remember, this is at that Thanksgiving time where we're gathering around the table. And probably for many of us, the first time in a couple Thanksgivings that we've been able to be with family. And so, you know, you just got to be wise with your words. Wisdom, truth, and faith at Thanksgiving as well. Then we move on to November 24th, and there's some beautiful trine. 29th. There's some beautiful trines happening, and one of them is Mars trine Neptune, and the other one is Mercury trine Chiron. You want to speak to those?
Trines are harmonious energy, things that are flowing, more natural, more able to get into the river and easily paddle along with. And so Mars, being the warrior or the initiator, Mars is also creativity, creation, standing in one's power, and also just delighting in life. That's also Mars energy, like the beginning of spring, the birth of all the trees and the buds and the flowers. Neptune is spirituality and universal love or unconditional love. And so this is a day where like you may get motivated to step into your spiritual prowess, to meditate, to pray, to connect into the universe, and to vision. Neptune is also visioning and dreaming. And so this is where reality and non-reality can meet each other. It's like non-dual at this point. Your initiator, doer, physical self meets your spiritual imaginer, dreamer, and it seems possible, doable. We can do this. Mercury Chiron, Mercury will trine Chiron that same day. Mercury is communicating, speaking, transmitting, and Chiron is the wounded healer, which can both be what wounds you carry, but also what healing medicine you have. Chiron is also known as the master teacher. And so this can be a day of deep learning from the inner soul. Mercury is the psychopomp who can travel beyond the physical world and go into the soul realms.
So this day of these great trines between Mars, Neptune, and Mercury Chiron, November 24th, is just about a little past midway between the two eclipses. And when you're in that space from November 19th to December 4th, that's the days of space between the two eclipses, you're in that transition period of what are you cutting, what are you releasing, what are you surrendering, what are you letting go of, and it's just like this slicing machine that just keeps cutting and cutting and cutting. The portal or the tunnel of that eclipse is like wide open, and you just can keep putting things through it and cutting it. So with Mercury, the communicator and the one who knows our soul self, the psychopomp, as Michael said, it trining with your healer and the wounds of your own self. It's a great time to like excavate and bring up some of the things that you're ready to release that have been toxic and binding to your soul self, that's been keeping you from shining that shiny soul self to the rest of us. You've been bound. Cut those binds and then put it through the portal. This is the time for that. And then, so basically that November 19th to December 4th is all like going into the immersion of this portal and really wrapping yourself around what it is to let go of. And then on that December 4th, it's the svaha. You let it go. You release it completely. It begins the churning on that first eclipse, November 19th, and then the last bit goes out that December 4th. And you each day throughout you have opportunity. It's any day you can release. If one of those days between the 19th and the 4th are better for you for ceremony, to celebrate, to make those decisions of what you're cutting, releasing, letting go, slicing away, then take one of those days and make it the ceremonial day and release it, particularly if it works for you on that November 29th, because there's so many trines. And that Mars-Neptune trine, where the warrior energy is getting a booster shot from Neptune, the spiritual prowess. You get that, really in-depth look at the cosmos, and you can, jettison out there into the unknown with that power of the warrior to see what it is that you're cutting and releasing and letting go. Great day for ceremony, that November 29th. There's also some extra booster shots from Saturn on that particular day. Saturn is sextiling both of those trines, so that's an extra little bit of like, you're getting support of, it's judicious that you do this. This is karma that is being released, that is helping you move these things along. So particularly November 29th with that extra Saturn's sextile. Then we go on to a big dog. You want to talk about that one on December 1st?
Neptune goes direct after 5 months of retrograde, so since the summertime. And Neptune, I mentioned earlier, is about spirituality, dreaming, imagination. Neptune also rules, well, the immune system and pandemics and things going around the world. And when Neptune goes retrograde or reverse, it's going over energies and replowing them over, and they're hard to understand during retrograde because it's like a swirling mixing of energies of stew, and it's watery and you can't like get a hold on of it. And then when Neptune goes direct, it clears out whatever is delusional, mistruth, not in alignment with spirit. And so Neptune is very difficult sometimes to get a hold of. I'm not saying Neptune direct is a bad thing, but it's like a tidal wave that's been pulled way out, and then it comes in and it washes away anything that is not in alignment with universal truth, and you can't hold on to it anymore. It's liquid, it's water, it's ocean, it's space. And so Neptune coming back in on this direct motion, Neptune doesn't move quickly, so when it goes direct, it's not like Mercury where it's like a sudden shift, but you can start to feel the tidal wave moving in a different direction, and the energy is starting to move some way. And so it's both a washing out and clearing, a loss, a letting go, but also a preparation for a new cycle. And geez, we need it.
Absolutely. And remember, Neptune's in its own sign of Pisces, and so it's very comfortable doing what it's doing. It's familiar territory. It's like water on water, and it does not have any problem doing that mass purification, that mass clearing out of energy. This is something I'm actually very much looking forward to, because as Michael said, Neptune rules the septic, the viruses, it's our septic systems, our sewage systems around as well. This is like a clearing of the shizzle. It's just going to be a big wash of what has not been clean, clear, healthy. It's all going to get this tidal wave of that Neptune energy. And we have a year in a view astrology report coming up on December 5th for 2022. And one of the big notes about 2022 has to do with Neptune. And I would say it's one of the key players in Neptune is in 2022 is Neptune. So this direct motion, although it's going to go retrograde, of course, again, this direct motion is going to give us a taste of that clearing energy that's to come in the near future. So just note that December 1st, and then we cruise along. We've got that second eclipse on the Sagittarius new moon, December 4th. And that is a total solar eclipse. And what do you have on that?
You can't see this in Denver and most of the United States because it happens at 12:53 a.m. So it's dark out, can't see the sun. But this is on the south node. So the first eclipse is on the north node, where we're going, what we want to evolve to. South node is what we need to change, bring back into balance, and recover. And so Sagittarius, in its shadow, what are we recovering? Well, when it's out of line, wisdom has been lost, truth has been misled, and we don't have much faith. And so this is a place where where have we been misled by not only ourselves, where we've lied to ourselves, haven't listened to our intuition, but also where have we lost wisdom, truth, and faith in the collective. And so this total solar eclipse, which is quite potent, is all about transforming, letting go, releasing that, and or paying the karmic consequences if you don't. Eclipses have a lot of potent punch around bringing karmic transformation in. Not to say that we're the knowers of when karma will be delivered, where and when, but traditionally, because eclipses bring in strange, new, unusual energies, they dramatically change the landscape of things. And this eclipse is still traveling with Mercury. Mercury, the moon, and sun, boom, 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 are all together here. And Mercury is all about that truth factor, speaking, communication, the psychopomp, the soul.
So WTF, December 4th. I think what we can expect is to have a lot of reveal on that day. A lot of You know, the Wizard of Oz, when the Toto pulled back the curtain and it was really, you know, we saw who the wizard was. We're going to see a whole bunch of that starting at the beginning of that solar eclipse, December 4th, and it'll just keep revealing after that, keep revealing, because it is time for wisdom, truth, and faith to be brought back to the surface. And in order to get to it, we have to be shown what has been false, what has been the lack of wisdom, but the ignorance, and where our faith has been waning, we'll get a booster shot of that back into the system, which I'm big on that. I'm hoping that that really takes hold. WTF.
WTF. December 11th is a potent day. Well, we've been saying that a lot, so well, here we go for another. Venus will...
It's WTF.
It's WTF. Venus and Pluto come together that day. They're both in the sign of Capricorn, and they're squaring Eris, the goddess of discord, war, strife, and manslaughter. That same day, the Sun will square Neptune. So this is a lot of very strong spiritual soul energies meeting personal energies. What do you want to say about this one?
Well, you know, it's like the little ego self sometimes does not want to hear what the high wisdom or the higher power self has to say. And we can go into all kinds of behaviors, nullifying or drowning out that wise self so that it doesn't tell us what to do. We're comfortable without these big changes. And so there's a tendency, I think, at that December 11th area. I mean, all these dates aren't a hard date. I mean, it's ebb and flow with time a little bit there, because time is a human construct. But generally speaking, around that time, we might get back into some of that la 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 la, I don't want to know, I'm just going to take a little bit of this and some of that and forget about it, shop on Amazon because Christmas is coming and I got it. You know, we just ignore, I don't want to look at it because it's hard truths. We're calling in wisdom, truth, and faith. Well, truth isn't always pretty. Truth doesn't mean it's nice. Truth doesn't mean that it's easy. But truth is the way. And so sometimes that means it's going to be difficult, there's going to be challenges, and we have to step into our power to deal with it. We need to really brace ourselves for any potential challenging changes that are coming up in our life. But you're built for it, you're ready for it, you've been preparing for so long, you're ready. Don't let yourself fall prey to any of the, you know, Mercury speak that comes in from outside sources that tells you you're not enough, or you need to be fearful and you're not ready to run and hide or to avoid. Don't listen to that. You're ready, take the challenge, take on some of these bigger tasks that are coming at us. But the reward is we'll be living a life of truth, and that would be so well served for the good of the whole if we could all step into that path.
Last big thing on the report is December 13th, and Mars moves into Sagittarius, and that same day Mercury goes into Capricorn. So we have a shift of energies. The warrior goes into the sign of wisdom, truth, and faith. WTF.
Yay, we need that warrior for it. So it couldn't come soon enough. Mars moving into Sag December 13th. We can power up with that and just take charge of our own self, our own sovereignty, our own bodies, our own words, our own everything, and be the boss of yourself, your soul self.
I take Mercury going into Capricorn again. Mercury's about communication and things, and Capricorn can have to do with society, sometimes legal and judicial things. So I like to think something maybe judicious may be examined, brought forth this day. It could be human law or it could be spiritual law, but some sort of law and message could come through.
And then we wrap it up. We'll see you on that December 18th Gemini full moon. And there's all kinds of things happening right after that, but we'll leave that as a mystery unless you go seek for yourself, and we encourage that. The more people that understand astrology, the better. Tune in to our December 5th workshop. It'll be online or at the studio. You can look at the website at karmayogacenter.com to get more information, but that'll give you the overview for 2022 that we're rapidly approaching. In the meantime, have a wonderful gathering with your friends and family in whatever way that you celebrate that Thanksgiving time, and WTF with the eclipses, wisdom, truth, and faith.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky, and stars, 10,000 suns shine within us all. Give praise to the one. Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky, and